Another day, another psyop. You guys have been watching the news. You've definitely heard about the trans identifying shooter who went into a Catholic school or Christian school. There was a Catholic school in Minneapolis, killed 2 children and injured 17. Well, obviously you guys know I'm gonna have my hot takes on it. I don't know what's real anymore, okay? There is so much BS out everywhere that it's pretty hard to keep track of what's real. And every day there's something new, right? You guys have gotten 3 videos from me this week already because that's what the news cycle is like. I think we're gonna calm down for a few days, and the next thing you know, some is blowing some kids' heads off, and I gotta make a video about it. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, what it is that they're distracting us from, because they're distracting us from something. Because there's only so much we can take with the Indians and the Pakistanis trying to get British children, and then gender blowing somebody's head off, and then, you know, something new every day. You know, I'm deep down in the rabbit hole. I gotta tell you guys, I'm deep down in the rabbit hole. Places you don't wanna go. Trust me, okay? I don't wanna be there, but I'm there. And one of the things I came across was this idea that there's going to be some kind of global cataclysmic event that resets everything and brings us back to zero. And you might think I'm crazy. Fine. I don't care. Every major culture has a flood story, right? It's in the Bible. It's in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Then we've got the pyramids that nobody can explain. Then there's all these unbelievable megalithic structures around the world that all resemble each other, like the wall in Peru. I think it's near Machu Picchu or whatever. Cusco, it's in Cusco, and then there's another wall like that somewhere. Listen, I get a lot of information. And so I'm like, you know, if I wanted to keep the population distracted, I would throw a bunch of crazy shit in the news cycle, have them get all up in arms about blah, 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 and then I'd be building my bunkers for when the flood wipes out these idiots so me and my family can survive. So that might be what's going on. Nevertheless, I'm still going to cover this issue because there's a lot of people talking stupid crap online, and it's my job to pull it apart and show you guys how to see through their BS. And then also, when your friends start bringing it up to you, to be like, shut up, I already know what you're gonna say because you're an NPC and all you do is download your software from Rachel Maddow, so all your talking points I'm already prepared for. So I like this guy, Andy. Now, look, Asians, you can't just throw a bunch of consonants in the middle of your name and tell us that it's pronounced win. I'm gonna say Ngo, because that's what I see. So if you want me to say no, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe do NYO so that the rest of us understand how we're supposed to pronounce this. No disrespect, because, you know, Andy's a gay Asian who's anti-trans, and I mean, that's a hard thing to find. So he went ahead and covered sort of backstory behind this she-male over here. It's a man who was told that he's a woman and was enabled his whole life. And what do you know? It didn't make him a woman. And then he got angry and decided that he was going to take his revenge on a bunch of unsuspecting Catholic school children. He does a little backstory about this, and then Andy does a little backstory about this, and then he ties it to some of the other violence that's happened at the hands of transgenders, which, you know, despite them claiming to be a woman, when shit hits the fan, boy oh boy do they act like a man. That could be a t-shirt, huh? You're trans, but when shit hits the fan, you act like a man. This guy's name was Robert. He changed it to Robin when he became a woman, whatever. He was 23. He came from St. Paul, Minnesota. And he was from a super left liberal family who affirmed his new identity, fully accepted him. So remember how they tell you that if you don't affirm your trans son or daughter, something terrible might happen? Well, it looks like even if you do affirm them, something terrible would happen. At least the other way, he could have just taken himself out without taking a bunch of innocent kids out. It didn't really help anything. His parents even petitioned the court to change his identity legally. That's what his mom did. Good old mom, huh? Liberal women. Now, we're doing a little bit of investigation behind the scenes because this last name is a little bit suspicious. We're not ones to quickly affirm that someone is white versus fellow white. Word on the street is this is a fellow white, which would make sense that they attacked a Catholic school then. She petitioned the court. His father, the alpha male that he is, made a post celebrating his daughter's 18th birthday as Robin Westman. We love, see, got all the acceptance that they say transgenders need not to be violent. And what do you know? Still became violent. Now, Andy had a really good point here because Andy went through his manifesto. I don't know why everybody has a manifesto. I don't have a manifesto. Should I get a manifesto? I don't understand what's going on. Like, do they have, or is it like a diary? And then when they're talking to the FBI is like, hey, why don't you call it a manifesto and we'll make this good for you, kid, you know? Or, you know, do they pick these people and then plant a manifesto? You know, these are questions I have. I don't take anything for granted, okay? If you have a manifesto, you're probably following the wrong channel. So don't follow this channel if you have a manifesto. We're not welcoming of people with manifestos here who want to do crazy violent shit to people because they're angry at the world or the government or their family or whoever. And this goes for across all wings of thought here, okay? Don't ever be like, well, I watched her YouTube channel. I don't want to be involved in that. And if you see that, just know, you know, I'm being taken out. That's what's going on, because I don't support anybody wiping out a bunch of people, okay? And it's just always curious to me that these people get so angry at the world and are like, I'm going to show you with violence, target innocent children. I'm like, really? It's the innocent children who are responsible for this horrible world you live in? Like, conveniently, they never really target anybody who is responsible. Isn't that curious? Isn't that curious? That's why I think everything's a psyop and government orchestrated. So anyway, Andy was going through this guy's journal, and this picture, this just looks like AI, doesn't it? This doesn't look like a real person. I don't know. Maybe it's like, you know, that bizarro reaction you have, like when you're like, something's not right here. Maybe it's because he was a mentally ill, disturbed future mass murderer, or maybe it's because it's computer generated. I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know. Anyway, here was his message, right? Off Donald Trump. You guys can read it yourselves. America's being taken over by fascist tyrants, and they need to pay. People like me need to keep until the right people get fed up and decide to get involved and change the system. How come you're not the right person? If that's really how you feel, once again, why are you going after innocent children who have no power to do that? Right, so he's sending a message to his followers that they should follow in his footsteps. But here's the part that was very interesting, which makes everything super curious. He says, I'm sick of my hair. I want to chop it off. I only keep it because it is pretty much my last charade of being trans. I'm tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself. I can't cut my hair off now, as it would be an embarrassing defeat, and it might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. He added, I wish I was a girl. I just know I cannot achieve that body with the technology we have today. And as much as I want to jump on this and go, aha, we right-wingers were right. We told you, don't tell the children lies. They can never change what they are biologically. Never. I'd love to jump on that, but this is just too perfect. It's like a trap. It's like a piece of cheese, a piece of real nice cheese sitting out on a trap for a mouse. These are words that literally seem to have been pulled out of a right-wing Twitter account. You're never going to be trans. It's a charade. You brainwashed yourself. It's embarrassing. I wish I could. I can never achieve that body. So something really smells. Something smells awful here. It just seems to be left out for us, you know, and I'm going to get into what I think they're trying to do with this, okay? But it's a little bit shady. I don't know what's going on with this. And I do want to point out, right, just in case anybody wants to come in, it's impossible What's nice about this, even psyop or real or whatever, is it's impossible for anyone to say it's because you're not protecting trans people and defending their rights. He had a family. The family supported his transition. He's living in Minnesota, which Minnesota might as well just be a total, Minnesota should just become trans. I mean, Minnesota has become trans, right? It used to be white and now it's Somalian, but they still want to claim they're American. Two different things, right? This chick, this was the lieutenant governor wearing a t-shirt that said protect trans kids. You had Tim Walz, who was all about protecting trans kids, all that stuff, right? Yeah, you got to protect it. You really should make a t-shirt that says protect kids from trans, because that's actually way more accurate. But the reality is that there has been a huge uptick in violence from trans identified males, men who are pretending they're women. What a surprise. Very aggressive men who are mentally deranged enough to affirm that they are something they are not, and get furious, violently furious, when you dare to tell the truth, because it destroys the little fantasy world they're trying to create for themselves. What a surprise. And the reason I don't think these are psyops is because you'll notice those stories never made it to your news circuit, because it didn't help them in some way. They wanted to cover it up. But here are a bunch of transgenders who have committed homicides because they thought, so here we go. He goes, I've been reporting for months about the so-called Zizians, the name given to a former Bay Area-based trans death cult linked to 8 brutal homicides and suicides. Its members followed a radical anarchist and woke-tinged ideology that claimed transphobes were targeting them. As a result, they stockpiled weapons and lived in box trucks. And then a lot of people died. The liberal media have mostly ignored the story. It's true, I didn't hear about it until I read this article. So that's how I know that's real, right? Because if it was another psyop they could have used, it would have been all over our news cycle. Now, of course, on cue, the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is basically saying anybody who wants to villainize the trans community is disgraceful. Whenever they say that, when they're trying to shame, they're just doing gaslighting, by the way, okay? Because you are very correctly noticing, hey, these men who seem to be mentally ill keep committing violence. Maybe we should stop pretending that putting on a skirt all of a sudden changes your biology in a fundamental way, because it's leading to problems. And then they want to go, how dare you villainize this targeted community? You're like, wait a second, that community is the one that's targeting everyone else. And then they call you a Nazi. So this is how this works. So here, we can just listen to him real quick.
Doing more than talking. It can't just be words. There needs to be action. And when we have seen school shooting after school shooting.
What kind of action, Mr. Frey? This can't possibly be the same kind of action of disarming the population that you guys ran in the Bolshevik Revolution right before you went and slaughtered the native Russian Christian population. It couldn't possibly be that, could it?
Well, we have seen churches get shot up by horrible actors. I think the impetus has to be on all of us as leaders to do a whole lot more, to recognize that we've got more guns in this country than we have people. And it's on all of us to recognize the truth and the reality that we can't just say that this shouldn't happen again and then allow it to happen again and again beyond that. It's on all of us. And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community.
Oh no, don't do that.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
It's really important at this time that we remember the children and not the evil trans that killed the children, because that would be bad. That's mean. They really got to get these politicians some better acting lessons, because this guy's really straining. He's like, he's straining like he's trying to get that last drop of water out of a water bottle, and nothing's coming out. Nothing's coming out because he has no emotional effect at all. He knows what his job is. His job is to go there and call for more gun control. That's right. That's what we need. More gun control. Not looking into a bunch of violent men who think the whole world is responsible for the fact that they can't be women. The only reason they're not women is because there's a bunch of transphobes out there who continue to remind them that they're a 6'3" dude on testosterone with a beard and shoulders like Michelle Obama. That's the reason. It's not possibly a bunch of violent psychopaths who want to take their revenge on the world for being born in the wrong body. That can't be it. It's not like if you went to the subreddit for trans, you'd find a bunch of lunatics celebrating this. Oh, wait, that's exactly what you find. Let's read some of the comments that came up in the aftermath of this violence. Based. First of all, that's our word, okay? If you're doing anything funky, like pretending to be another gender, sleeping with the same sex, anything gay, you don't get to say based. Those are the rules. It's the same way I don't get to say, yes, Queen Slay. You don't get to say based. Based. Take the fight to their kids so they can feel what it's like to be attacked for your identity. That's a demon. That's a demon. So you're mad at the parents, which you have no interaction with, by the way. These parents, you literally don't have any interactions with anyone saying anything slightly transphobic, because the gay world we live in, no one's allowed to tell you the truth. But some here in your false imagination, because you're watching too much Netflix specials or whatever the hell you're doing, you think there's a bunch of people who are thinking about you. No one's thinking about you because you're a psycho. The only thing they're thinking about is, how do I keep my kids away from you? Elect a fascist. Your kids are legitimate targets. Republicans are enemies of humanity, and thinning the herd is our duty. So there you go. Can you imagine if a white person, a straight white person, wrote this when they elected Joe Biden? Elect an old pedo, and your kids are legitimate targets. I mean, this is evil. This is evil. So if anybody's still confused, both sides are the same, and everybody has an equally valid perspective. No, okay? Republicans aren't going out there saying we should kill your kids. That is insane. There you go. More dead Christians, LOL. To me, it seems like if you elect a really bad guy that's cruel to people and weaponize his cruelness and horrific behavior against your neighbors, some of those horrible, I guess they're saying something that you deserve it. Maybe their Christo-fascist parents will think twice before supporting an admin that kills Palestinians. I don't even know what's going on here. This is how psychotic they are. I'm totally anti what's going on in Palestine, but they automatically assume that because I don't support their right to chop their penises off and put a dress on and go into the ladies' restroom, that somehow I'm a Christo-fascist, whatever the heck they said, who's supporting Israel. See, this is why none of this makes sense in their brains. In their brains, everything is black and white. They can't, and they can't fathom that things are actually more complex than I'm just right-wing, I'm left-wing. But the irony is, they're over here crying about an administration that kills Palestinian children while calling for the death of children of their enemy. How are you any different than the Zionist government that you claim to oppose? See, this is how you know you're on the same side of evil. When you can justify killing children because you perceive them as the children of your enemy, that makes you evil. Got it? Conservatives want to kill all trans. Shouldn't be surprised when we fight back. See, I mean, what? Nobody's saying this. Nobody's saying this. We're literally just saying you cannot be around our children. That's it. And you're like, okay, I'm going to kill you now. So we're justified in not wanting you around our children. You see? This is Republicans' fault for trying to genocide us. You're not real. You don't really, there's no people, there isn't like a group of people living in a land somewhere and they just pop up and they're all trans. You're mentally ill porn addicts who are addicted to the mainstream narrative and being a victim, and you get off on the idea of yourself as a woman. That's what's going on. I hope the guns are okay. So funny. Super funny. So this is, Jacob Frey wants to make sure, that you never, ever, ever blame these poor, innocent trans who just want to get revenge on your children for what they perceive as your sins. Never, ever, ever blame them. Oh, or you can blame straight white men. That's right. This is a white problem, as our Trey Gowdy says. Let's see. This is a guy who wrote some book about.
It's always a young white male. Almost always. I mean, did anyone this morning think, I wonder if that was a female? Did any of y'all think that? I mean, there's been one school shooting involving.
Well, yes, we did, because they told us that you could change genders. So I don't know what gender they are until they tell us. Am I doing this right?
A female. One. Yeah, Tennessee. But other than that, it is usually young white males. It's always a young.
See? It's okay. Where is Jacob Frey saying, hey, don't blame the young white male? What did the white males out here catching strays for no reason? If we want to look up mass shooting statistics, let me tell you something, Trey Gowdy. White males are not anywhere near the top. I know you wish it were so, but it's not. A tragedy happens and all these political people are like, how can I make this about me? And of course, we have people on there trying to exploit it for their cause and say, this is because you don't like our people. Who could that be? Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys, I don't know what this guy is. This guy's got to be some kind of Israeli bot, because everything he posts just ends up being worse for Israel. So I don't know if he's trying to do it or if he was hired to do the opposite, but he posted, the Minneapolis shooter wrote, burn Israel and Israel must fall on his rifle. This is terrorism. Another act of pro-Palestinian terrorism on U.S. soil. And then I said, and yet he attacked a church and not a synagogue. Now, this isn't me saying what he should have done. Absolutely not. Again, I do not condone any of that kind of behavior. But the idea that you're going to twist this into it was an anti-Semitic hate crime when he literally went into a church and shot Christian children and had a picture of Jesus that was at the target of the end of his rifle is insane. It's insane. Yeah, here's another one of his posts. If I carry out a racially motivated attack, it would be most likely against filthy Zionist Jews. But he didn't. He didn't do that. He carried it against Catholics. So whatever the heck is going on in this guy's jumbled brain, it's clearly not a Nazi. Literally, I can't believe this guy wrote this. First they come for the Saturday people, then they come for the Sunday. Actually, first they came for the Sunday people. Actually. And that seems to be what keeps happening over and over again. And again, don't take this as an advocate that they should be coming for any group of people. They shouldn't be coming for any group of people. But please, you're stretching here. You're really stretching. Now, these are the kinds of lunatics, people on Reddit who are like so sure that they're the victims and everybody's a transphobe. These are the Antifa lunatics, the ones that Andy Ngo wrote about. He was the target of them. That idiot centrists and people who are liberals listen to. You're listening to the cries of literal psychopaths saying that normal people are murderers, therefore we have to murder them. Okay, so you are responsible because you condone this because you don't want to feel like a bad person. The media tells me that if I don't affirm this lunatic man in a beard and a dress who wants to be around little girls for some strange reason as a woman, I'm a bad guy. And because I can't tolerate having a bad feeling about myself, I'm just going to say whatever they tell me. Now here's the real deal, which is what they always do. This is how you know what they're really about, is it's all about stripping away your rights, taking away your ability to protect yourself so they can ask whenever they want. Oh, you don't have any guns? Guess what? You don't have any food now because the government said global warming is so bad that we have to ratio everyone's food to this little tiny thing. And oh, what? You can't live on that? Too bad. We all have to do our part for the carbon neutral world we're going to. You guys see? It's always a new packaging for how they're going to kill, how a government's going to kill its population. I don't know what it is about a government that it becomes psychotic and turns on its own people and wants to murder them. It might be because the people who end up taking over the government have nothing to do with the people they're supposedly representing, but that's a video for behind the paywall. So here's this guy, in a totally unrelated note. This guy says he's going to start using a 24/7 Israeli grade ontology. I don't know what this means. Whenever you say we're going to use tech from Israel to spy on people, let's just say that's probably not a good idea. Okay? Anytime Israelis were in charge of spying on people or keeping the government in charge, we're responsible for the government's monitoring of people, you ended up with things like the Holodomor, the Russian Revolution that killed upwards of 60 million Christians, the Young Turks. I mean, we could go on and on.
Correct. I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Would it have picked up on this, do you think?
100%. I wish my program would already be up. We're not launching until next week. I've got a dozen agencies on board, Trace. I just unloaded a major Northeast agency with over 2,700 sworn. This is America's early warning system.
Yeah, that's great. Nothing could possibly go wrong with the government having access to every piece of communication that happens in the privacy of your own home 24/7. Nothing could possibly go wrong with a bunch of armed cops showing up to the homes of armed citizens unannounced, and perhaps there being some kind of shootout in which we have to say, well, look, we were trying to protect you, so now you guys can't have guns. They're going to keep moving in this direction until they get what they want. I'm just telling you guys what it is. And the minute they get your guns, I am telling you, start marking the time until the genocide. It is going to happen. There has never been a time in history where a government has disarmed the population and it has not resulted in a mass genocide of that population. Look it up. Stop arguing with your idiot liberal friends. They're not your friends. They're going to turn you in. If they haven't unplugged until this time, they're gone. They're probably trans. Here's Melania Trump. Yay, it's all part of the plan. Melania Trump, lost Princess Anastasia of the Romanovs. Yeah, she's part of the plan. Don't worry, guys. The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying potential school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors like being trans. We don't need a secret security to listen to everything. They literally tell you. They tell you. You have all the warning signs. And making violent threats online prior to their actions. There we go. Okay, anything you say is a joke. It's not going to be a joke. It depends if you get deemed as a threat. And why are you a threat? You're a threat if you are a threat to the Zog establishment. Okay? Just look at what they did to Randy Weaver. And it wasn't because he sawed off some shotguns. The t-shirt he was wearing in the picture with his family gives you a huge clue. To prevent future tragedy, it's crucial we look into behavioral threat assessments across all levels of society, beginning in our homes, extending through school districts, and of course, social media platforms. Okay, we can save lives. We can save lives if you let the government kill you first. Ding, ding. And MSNBC. So it's across the platforms, right? We've got Fox, we've got Melania, we've got MSNBC saying, whether you like it or not, I'm going to do this guy's voice, whether you like it or not, the only thing that really works to bring down gun violence is to do what Australia did. That's right, completely cuckify the population, which if you remember, during the pandemic, the Australians had no recourse to resist mandatory clot shots, right? So free. Can you imagine being so free that you can't even say, no, I don't want to inject myself with anything that you have. I don't care. You know, the right to freedom is to say, okay, yeah, I might end up dying of cancer if I don't take your shot, but I don't want to do it. That's called autonomy. They want to make us slaves. This is how Satan always works. Satan told us this nice lie. God wants you to be a slave and serve him. Come to me, I'll set you free. You can do whatever you want. And you do kind of get to do whatever you want for a little bit of time. But what he doesn't tell you is that all of those things that you do, that you think you want to do, end up destroying you and making you a slave to those things. All right, this is why people become addicts and gambling addicts and sex addicts and drug addicts and alcoholics. But in the beginning, you're having a blast, right? In the beginning, you're having a blast. And then the next thing you know, you want to wear a dress and be around kids and be inappropriate. I don't know how we got here either, folks. So I'm not totally ruling out that this whole thing isn't a total psyop. I don't really have the evidence for that, but some of the stuff seems, you know, a la the thing that got Alex Jones in big trouble for questioning. Seems very, very similar. And again, immediately they don't miss a beat. They're pressing for the restriction of gun rights. That's all we got to say tonight. Thanks for joining me. See you guys around.